you.
Outnumbered over time. Oh, Chief baby. I kind of wanted to start with the conversation that Geraldo and Meghan are having right now. So let's just jump in. It's warm.
You know, I mean, Geraldo, everyone on this couch, really. I mean, I know everyone has military connections on this couch, and I think every person in our family has served in one context or another. Geraldo obviously did multiple, went on multiple deployments with many, many servicemen. I know because my brothers talked about seeing you over there. So I just...
My proudest achievement.
No, and you really, how many? 27?
22.
I mean,
that's just Afghanistan and Iraq. That doesn't count Somalia or, you know, the territories, Gaza and so forth.
And you were in with the troops.
Oh, of course, of course.
You didn't just parachute in, parachute out.
So a lot of, I think that there was a period there, a decade, where we saw more combat deaths than any reporters. I mean, you know, you talked about your brother Ramadi. You know, I remember a pickup truck filled with dead bodies in Ramadi.
God.
You know,
What we were talking about during the break, though, leading up to that, because I just want to emphasize that all of us respect the military, is that when Donald Trump is criticizing Senator Blumenthal, who, yes, did lie about his service, but he also criticizes people who have served. So I don't know exactly what in the military is okay. But if you're critical of him, it doesn't matter if you served or didn't serve. There will be criticism.
Well, look at what happened with Brian Williams. I mean, there are some things you can't do. And the one thing you can't do is puff your military record. And so Blumenthal paid with that. He's been humiliated over that years and years now later. But the president, with all due respect, and I love him, dear friend of mine, 40-plus years, he didn't serve either. And to criticize Blumenthal, who was in the military, just wasn't a combat GI, and that, I think, is very gratuitous. To me, although Evan is absolutely right, that you push me, I'll push you harder. You come with me with a knife, I come with you with a gun. I get that. But you got to save your ammo a little bit. You can't... to take on everybody over every issue and make it the worst thing that ever happened to them. I mean, that's why he was so critical of Megyn Kelly, asking him the question about calling women fat pigs and slobs and so forth. Because there she was asking the first question in the first debate, and she brings up the worst thing that ever happened to him. I mean, you can't do that in life. It's just, you know, you got to let some, you know, Blumenthal, honest guy, generally speaking. He had this meeting, and the nominee said what, obviously he said he was disheartened, he said he was demoralized. That was big news. Blumenthal was right to report it, and to then go at him and saying the worst thing that ever happened that you ever said, I'm going to cut your throat out. I mean,
but you know what I think is going to happen, Geraldo? I think it's going to be a long 4 years if this is how the president handles every criticism, and I think that he will. And I think that the American people, even supporters of the president, they'll never turn on him, but they're going to turn maybe a little tone deaf to this type of hyper criticism, this overreaction.
They don't seem to yet.
No, it's still early, Sandra. He hasn't been in office for 2 months. I think by year 2 or 3, it's going to be, oh, well, of course, that's how Trump is going to go at it, and I don't know that it'll have the same bite.
But, you know, I just wanted to say at the end of the show, I want him not to overreact to every provocation. On the other hand, as the father of 5, if you do something to hurt my child, I'm going to say something to you. That's a whole different, you know what I mean? To me, that's bigger than Blumenthal and the Supreme Court. So can I just ask this question, because I haven't heard anybody talk about this. So this isn't just the president saying he doesn't like the way somebody treated his daughter. It's an American corporation that he's having a reaction to that's extremely negative that could affect, what, their bottom line?
It actually helped them. The stock went up 2% on the day that it happened.
I believe that.
But you see my point. I mean, it isn't just...
I completely agree with you. I've surprised myself with my raw reaction to that. I think a businessman should know better than to publicly. I think there was I think he could still handle the fact that somebody offended his daughter and potentially hurt her business, but I don't know that.
I'm just a real
I don't know that speaking
guy.
as President Trump was the right way to go about it.
It's not even that. That's not. I don't. The tweet.
I mean, look at how your dad responds when people criticize you.
He doesn't do things like that. He does. He actually. I mean, on it legitimately. We actually, how I started my career was we publicly disagreed on several issues, and the media took handle to it. So I do not have the kind of relationship with Donald Trump and Ivanka.
Why doesn't she speak?
She's also
on behalf of herself.
She's a member of his cabinet. officially or
I think I can
unofficially, one way or
answer that.
another.
Actually, there's a legal reason.
But Kellyanne Conway going on TV and saying buy Ivanka Trump's clothes, that it's unethical. It's actually against rules if you're serving in a government position.
So I watched it, and she did actually say that.
Yes,
she did. I mean, I've heard people kind of paraphrase
doesn't
it.
bother
But
me. I'm sorry,
even though you
doesn't bother
paraphrase
me.
it, you
Go out and
nailed
buy
what she
Ivanka's
said.
shoes. You heard it from me. I'm not in the
she's
cabinet.
not. Again, she's not the
could
president.
say that.
Somebody just died in a raid. A Navy SEAL just died. I don't
Yes.
care about these shoes. I'm sorry. It is unpresidential, and I'm sick of it. All of us here on this couch collectively have much more important things to focus on than Ivanka Trump's shoes and Nordstrom's. And if they want to turn into the Kardashians, they're well on their way to do it. Her and her business shouldn't have anything to do with the presidency. That's what you gave up now that you're living in the White House.
But the point is, what she gave up, she's being punished in a way that's disproportionate and is ad hominem. They're attacking her
You know what happens
because
to me
she's
on a
related to the
daily
president.
basis because of my father?
I
It's
get
part
that.
of the game. It's what you
but what
sign up
Geraldo
for.
was alluding to is the fact, and I tweeted
And
this
it's not
article
illegal.
out.
It
this
goes against
article
the
out.
code of ethics.
She actually did adhere to stricter rules of divesting from her businesses than even her father did, and he's in the White House. So that's what I hear you alluding to. But what Sandra is saying is so true. And it's interesting that their stock went up because we're all talking about Nordstrom. But as president, is that a presidential thing to do? And it's such a fair question because we're talking about the nomination of a Supreme Court justice this week.
I'm only laughing because it's going up on Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Celebrity Apprentice ratings at the National Prayer Breakfast. I mean, you're going to talk about something that's unpresidential.
A company like Nordstrom that's publicly traded has to be legally honest in their earnings reports and any public announcement that they make. Their obligation is first and foremost to shareholders. If they say they are letting go of the brand because of declining sales, you then have President Trump questioning their authenticity of their announcement to stop selling her items.
Why shouldn't he have the right of every other dad?
Because he's not operating in a father capacity.
No, but he is operating in a father
capacity. So how
capacity.
could he have done it without stepping in it the way that Sandra just pointed out? How do you get there without?
I have the utmost respect for you, Geraldo, really, and we've been friends for a long time. But I think you're being ridiculous, and I think you're being like a, what do they call it, like a, I know they call it like a bear.
Are you trying to just
a bear parent? What is it? A parent that's protective.
A tiger mom.
I understand. I understand that.
Not guilty.
I understand that's the inclination of a father. I don't have children, but I completely understand that.
But I'm just curious, how could he have done it differently?
You mean make a comment that's my whole point.
Done what
First of all, the
Sandra just
president isn't covered by these conflict of interest statutes. It's everybody but the president. And you know, if someone. It's just about, I think that I'm stumbling because I understand that Megyn is correct in every substantive.
You're stumbling because you're wrong?
I am taking an emotional argument, and I would do it again tomorrow because that's how I feel. I feel that Nordstrom's made a decision that if Ivanka Trump was Jane Doe, they would not have made. That's my assumption.
I wonder how Ivanka feels about all this. I wonder if I would want my father, the president, speaking out about it.
So here's what I have read, and
you have lovely
guys
children
can correct me.
that are very.
The reason you haven't heard her on point, is because by divesting, she now cannot comment one way or the other.
Is that it? That she can't comment?
I'm not saying she has to comment specifically to this. I'm just saying she could do so. She could have her company say something.
I think Ivanka Trump is more of a less emotional than her father. I think she's more of a business professional. I think she understands better the political and financial consequence of being now brand associated with both the good and the bad of President Trump.
She's definitely a lot. I mean, I would say she's a lot more savvy when it comes to things like that than her father is.
But I know the issues of how the brand would be affected by his candidacy was very much on the mind of the entire family. Remember, that was Celebrity Apprentice ran right into his announcement almost. And they were very concerned about how the people who hated him.
This is a great question from the live chat. This is a great question. And I hadn't thought about it this way. Creeker1 says, Fox host keeps saying it's okay for Trump to defend his daughter. Actually, that's not true. We've been debating it. From Nordstrom. Defend her from what exactly? That's a good question. How is she suffering? She's divested. They're away from her ability to.
Geraldo was saying he's saying it, making the case. He's the Fox host making the case.
So how is she suffering exactly? According to this viewer, we'd like to know.
Well, Are you asking me if Ivanka is now going to be living in a no-tell motel? No, I don't think that.
Defend her from what exactly? Is the question.
Her dad feels that her business was attacked not because of her business or the quality of the product, but rather his political policies.
But that's
Therefore, he is reacting to it as I would react, and as I think many red-blooded dads
let me make one argument.
Canadian Reject says you're both right. Let's move on and talk about it.
Let me say one last thing. Nothing in their life will ever be the same, ever. There were people that will go to their events and won't go simply for political reasons, and I think they're finally realizing the realities of that.
And I will say, if she benefited from the name recognition of being Ivanka Trump, then I think she has to also now reap the consequences.
Interesting. I want a pair of shoes that say Sandra Smith.
I think we'll leave it there.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.